Welcome to Talking Business and Life with Claudio Relsano and Steve Mancini. Claudio and Steve will share their business and life experience to help you grow your business and improve your life. Here's Claudio and Steve.
All right, good evening and welcome to Talking Business and Life. I am your co-host, Steve Mancini, and with me is, as always, Claudio Relsano. Claudio, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. One of those days I'm spinning all kind of dishes. As you can see here, my index card that I carry with me. And I have an appointment book and I have a calendar on my phone.
I was going to say, you see the joy of video? Now we can see how busy Claudio really is. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
lies, folks. It's
Yeah,
real.
yeah. No,
Could you
it's
show,
not.
put that a little closer to the camera? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's not written real neat, but
No,
said
there you
1,000. About 20, 27 things I had to do. I did about 23.
What is that?
And just one just got added.
Gamble at casino, guaranteed winner.
No, I wish. I wish.
I think he's nuts. All right,
It's all
Claudio.
good. It's all good.
We always like to not waste too much time with banter, but as always, we'd be remiss if we didn't thank our listeners literally from all over the world. And again, thank you very much for tuning in. The fact that you're giving us your time means a lot to us, so thank you very much. And also, Claudio, I think you and I are of the generation where we can say this. R.I.P. Chuck Norris.
Oh, yeah.
That's sad.
I didn't know he
That
was
was
86.
86. Yeah.
I never would have guessed it. Never would have guessed it.
You know what? It's like I told somebody, he's one of those people that it's funny. I never met the guy, don't know the guy, blah, 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 blah. But you grow up with him watching his movies, and it's like weird.
Commercials.
You don't think how much a person, even a fictional character, becomes, in a way, a part of your memories.
Yeah. Well, like I said, commercials, what do they call those other things called? Infomercials. You know, he made a nice buck with those. He kind of transitioned from his career as a fighter to movies to commercials to infomercials. So you got to give him credit. I like the guys who've done different things. And, he'll definitely be missed. Good guy.
And you know what? It's funny you say that because it's kind of a theme to the guests we have. A lot of them started off doing let's say it's an athlete. You can only do it for so long. The body says, listen, I'm giving you so many years.
Or maybe you're sick of it.
Right. Well, yeah, or burn out. But then it's like you got to have plan B. Otherwise, when we've talked about this, it is not heaven on earth to be doing nothing. I think you have a purpose. And if you think your purpose is to do nothing, I think you're wasting your life. That's my opinion.
I'm with you. My mom used to call people who do nothing pieces of meat with eyes. And that's not me. I'm always doing something. But you know what? We have a great guest today, someone who does a lot of things. I look at his career and what he does in his business. He's definitely, like our Global Scouting Bureau, is a one-stop shop. He is definitely a one-stop shop. He is the founder and president of ProZone. He is an NFL agent, a CFL agent. He works in the NIL world. He is an attorney. He does their taxes. He does everything, and he's a good guy. His name's Alex Guminski. Alex, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Claudio. It was nice seeing you the other night.
Glad
we
did.
Catch up.
We did something at Point Park. We spoke to some students. What were their majors? Sports business.
Yeah, it's the Sports and Entertainment Management program, and that's one of their classes by Dr. Karen Hall, who's excellent.
Dr. Karen Hall.
Yeah, it was on the coaching responsibilities or like how to be a coach through sport.
Okay. Yeah, we shared our stories, and I really think they got something out of it. So it was good to see you as well.
Yeah.
Alex, we're going to start out like I start with everybody. And I know the story, and I like the story. That's why I want to ask you, when did you decide you wanted to be an agent?
Probably I was in my third year as an attorney, and we had a very interesting entertainment law division at the firm that we worked at. And at around the same time where I was really getting caught up to speed with a lot of those contracts and, the ebb and flow and how that industry is navigable, I had a lot of friends that I went to high school with and college with that ended up becoming professional athletes. And they would email me their contracts and say, would you mind taking a look at this? I need to know what's going on in my contract. And I just said to myself, I've told the story a bunch of times. It's the agent, don't you guys have agents that do this stuff for you? And I said, yeah, they're not really giving us the attention we deserve. So these were people that I cared about. And, I did a lot in the entertainment space. So I went to my boss at the time and I said, let's become a sports agency. We could really help these people. There's a need for this. So that's where it started, 2016.
And there was a special movie that kind of sparked it a little bit too, right?
Yeah, sure. I've watched Jerry Maguire one too many times, but who hasn't, right?
Yeah, but you know what, though? People have watched. I know this one guy. He's watched Rocky, Steve, probably 100 times. But all he did was watch it. For me, when I watched it, it activated something in me to go after it. And that's what a lot of people watch Jerry Maguire, and they say they want to be an agent. But I don't want to do it. But you actually did it.
Yeah.
Why did that movie inspire you?
Because of who we are, I think, as a collective agency in our souls, and kind of what we have as our philosophy, the kind of client that we attract. I think that you have to have, you have to add that element of humanity to the representation, and I think we do that very well. And Jerry did that very well in the movie. There were aspects of life that everybody's juggling, that you have to kind of figure out what fits on your plate, what's a priority, what's not, what's important, what's not. And I feel like where we've come from as an agency, we have every bit of that together at what we do. It's not just, hey, let's do your contract, this is what it's going to cost. It's how can we help you achieve what you want to achieve in life with what we've created to this point, or built, or can introduce to you.
People ask me all the time, what kind of a player do you want to coach? What kind of player do you sign professionally? And I always say, a good person who can play. Now, in your business, people may think that it's up to the athlete to pick and choose who he wants to represent him. But let me ask you, do you pick and choose who you want? Do you say, I wish you luck, but maybe we're not a good fit?
When I first got my license, I took every client.
Okay, I get it.
Because I had needed the experience more
Sure.
than I needed the money.
Sure.
And in order to succeed twice as fast, you have to fail twice as often. So I loved being, thrown to the wolves and kind of, shown trial by fire, shown how to do this trial by fire. We have a phrase that we use when we decide who would be a good fit for us. The words kind of have taken different shape over the years. But we want to represent a player with God-given ability who wants to be a smart businessman when their playing days are over, or businesswoman now. We have some female clients, smart businessman or businesswoman that want to be pillars in their communities and in their families. And usually it's a solid equation, A plus B plus C plus D equals E. Usually if we don't have one of the letters, we don't get to E.
Good for you. I like that. I like that. Steve?
I want to chime in on something that you just mentioned, and you and I found out something we have in common. We both went to the same high school. Again, it's like a Central Catholic, I don't want to call it, we're not as bad as the PSU people, but,
It's up there.
if you're in Pittsburgh, it is.
It's obnoxious.
It can be. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about faith. A lot of people go to Catholic school. That doesn't necessarily infer that they have a faith, that they really believe it, that they really live it. Does that play a role in your decisions?
Not in my decisions, but certainly in my clients' decisions. Yeah, faith and family is really important to them. I bring in more of like the business aspect of it. This is what you need to be realistic about. This is what your expectations should be. These are what they're going to have expected of you. This is how we plan for 10 years. This is how we plan for 8 years from now. This is how we set up your will. This is how we do everything from beginning to end. Yeah.
I said at the beginning of the show, you are a one-stop shop. Tell us everything that you do. It's not just representing contracts or getting them a shoe deal. It's tell them everything. Yeah.
The agency provides services from multiple experienced professionals in their own right. We have a real estate agent. We have a multiple entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur that is our director of player development that I actually represented in the NFL, who joined our business. Tax professionals, we have immigration attorneys, we have family attorneys, we have bankruptcy attorneys, we have estate planning attorneys. We do almost all of it in-house. There's very little that we can't do as a turnkey operation.
Okay.
I want to kind of keep picking up on personal aspects of this. You see, it's very a lot of people can see a lawyer and see this cold business, and that's why I kind of chimed on the faith. And you say, well, I watched Jerry Maguire, and the whole point of that was the humanity of the person representing him. It wasn't just about a numbers game. It was like, yeah, I'm going to drop this guy. He was like, you know what? That's the guy that's going to stick with me. I owe him that. Talk about that loyalty. Does that exist, or does this purely become just a business relationship? And I understand that you cannot escape the business aspect of it, but I'm guessing you get to know some of these guys and gals personally.
Yeah. My mentor told me once upon a time, he said, the wind blows many ways, many days. So, it's tough for me there's no blueprint as to how I expect things to go with specific clients, you could just lay everything out on the table and make sure that you don't misunderstand each other about capabilities and about expectations, boundaries, things like that. Did that answer your question?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Kind of kidding, kind of not kidding. No, because I get where you're going with that. But at the same time, you do get to know these people on a personal level.
Yeah.
Does that weigh into anything later on, or are you like, nope, got to cut the line?
Sure. Some guys want that buddy feel. They want to be able to have somebody that they know would, for lack of a better phrase, ride for them and make sure that they meet them where they are. So that aspect of the personality is definitely included, and there's dynamics within the family that you have to understand as well. Mother-father relationship, mother-son relationship, and who is where the power struggle is, because that exists at all times in every family. So being able to reflect that or deflect that and make sure that the collective as a family thrives. Those aspects definitely come into it.
But you definitely feel like you get to know them on a personal level.
Very closely.
Yesterday I came across an article with my very first win as a 23-year-old, March 28th, 1988. Do you remember the first client that you had in the first contract settlement deal that you made for him?
Yeah, Niall Scott was probably my first official client that made it to the NFL, or that I had watched from beginning to end. Beginning of his career, coming out of college into his retirement, and now in the businesses that he's into now. I had other clients since representing him that were already in the NFL, but he was the first one that I ushered in, on my own. The other clients made lateral moves while they were already in the NFL. So I do remember that, and it was a stroke of being dumb and being lucky at the same time as to how I was able to represent him, and we had a fantastic relationship. There was so many different aspects of his career that we went through. His wedding, his surgeries, his contracts. He played for 9 teams in 5 years. So it was representing him was a nice jump start to the trajectory of what it has become now.
And that's a roller coaster for you as well, because is he going to sign? Is he going to make it? Is he going to play? And is just as tough for you, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to recognize, I think, as an agent, the fire and ambition that they have within themselves. Because if you're not getting the feeling that they want to be, better at what they do than what you think that you want to be better at what you do, I mean, representing those guys that want it more than anything is such a beautiful part of this.
Sure.
Let me ask you: Do you ever feel like it's just Groundhog Day at some point where you just kind of like, I've been here, done that? I mean, and how do you kind of self-motivate to get through that?
The way I would describe that, the Groundhog Day, is, I describe what I do to other people as I say no 2 days are exactly alike. So I need that, but the Groundhog Day kind of concept would be the system that you create to go through each day, so that every client gets serviced, so that every task gets done, so that every task is delegated, so that all the homework is turned in on time. So you just create the system, and that just happens to work like a Groundhog Day. Every day you do the system over and over again.
2-part question. Your biggest obstacle that you have to deal with, and maybe your toughest moment as an agent, and how you dealt with it.
Yeah, the biggest obstacle, I think, at this point is probably perception. I think that...
of you or the player?
Of our agency. Okay. Yeah, the perception of the agency. And I've used this analogy before, is that a lot of times when we would attract a certain client or try and sign a certain client, they would have the tendency of chasing the shiny red ball. And there's a misperception, I think, that smaller is necessarily worse, but I would argue that smaller is necessarily better, right? The Jerry Maguire,
sure.
Less clients, more quality, more attention.
That's right.
Yeah.
And your toughest moment as an agent and how you dealt with it.
Toughest moment as an agent. Every kind of being a chameleon, I think, to what the different families present and what they want, and the kind of demographic that the client is, and the social aspect of it as well. They should like me, right? They should want to have a dinner with me or have a drink with me. But there's also that aspect of business that just has to be at the forefront of all of these relationships. Has to be.
Have you ever had to deal with somebody who just wasn't good And what did
like
you
an
do about
evil person or someone that
just wasn't. The whole thing was just a bad
what
fit.
I deal with more often than other are good intentions with bad resolve.
Okay.
Yeah, people that want the best for the people. The individuals want the best for the players. People. They want the best for the players. They just don't know how to get them the best. They want the best, but they just don't know how to get them, which is where we step in as the agent.
Does that mean like an uncle or a father who wants to give advice, but meanwhile,
It could be boyfriend, brother, sister, girlfriend. It could be anybody. Yeah, mom, dad. And that's just humans being humans, right? And you can't ignore that fact of it, that we are going to talk with each other.
All right, folks, we'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Ciao, Chrissy. Your Italian got so much better. Brava.
Grazie. It's because I learned the best way possible.
How so?
Well, I learned that with apps, grammar books, and even YouTube videos, I could only get so far. I had to immerse myself. I noticed I did best when I was in Italy visiting family. That's where my level really soared.
And wow, did it work?
Thanks. I became much more confident, fast. That's why I created Footsteps Through Time. It's an Italian language experience. You don't just take Italian classes, you immerse yourself in a real Italian village. With lots of fun activities and excursions, it's life-changing.
I see. So, no more boring grammar, impersonal apps, just real conversations, real culture, and delicious food, of course.
Exactly. I'm so excited about this. Learn Italian by actually becoming part of the local community for a week and living it. So if you've been dreaming of Italy and the language, check out Footsteps Through Time in Italy.com. Book now and join the experience.
Andiamo!
Thanks to Greater Pittsburgh Travel. For any of your travel needs, let Tom and the team at Greater Pittsburgh Travel know, and they'll take care of you. For more information, call 412-331-2244 or visit their website at www.greaterpittsburghtravel.com. And we want to thank the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. If you're interested in learning more, you can find their contact information on Facebook at Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. Again, thanks Domenica and the team at the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh for your support.
Hello, everyone. My name is Claudio Relsano, and I am the author of the book, Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up, How to Create a Positive Winning Culture on the Field and in the Office. My years as a head baseball coach and a general manager of a pro baseball scouting company, I know that my leadership experiences that I've included in this book will help you become a better leader. You can get the book at ClaudioRelsano.com. Speaking of ClaudioRelsano.com, you can listen to my show, The Claudio Relsano Show, where I've interviewed such legends as Mario Andretti, Dick Vermeil, Rocky Blyer, and many, many others. And I also have an entrepreneurial program there talking about my entrepreneurial experiences. So hopefully that will help you, and hopefully you will enjoy that. And also, Sports Corner, hosted by Ralph Williams, co-host with myself, Jim Frazier, and Luther Dupree Jr. We appear on 92.5 FM, 1250 AM, The Answer, Salem Radio, every Saturday here in Pittsburgh, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy all the shows, and I hope you enjoy my book.
We'd also like to thank Chris Gonzalez from the Knights of Columbus. If you have any questions about joining the Knights of Columbus, reach out to Chris Gonzalez at 412-605-9074. All right, welcome back to Talking Business and Life with Steve Mancini and Claudio Relsano. All right, Alex, I am going to ask you a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit off script here, because one of the things that when I look on the outside, looking in at an agent at a law firm, I, for better or worse, and I guess this is kind of why I keep asking the personality stuff. It's all business. I get it. I understand that. And I know you got to be careful to not get too close, because it might cloud your business judgment.
Sure.
Are there instances where you've said, look, I got to bend the rules a little bit because of, I don't want to call it, maybe it was something personal. Maybe something was going on with the client where you say most people would have dropped them, but I just can't do that. Has that ever happened where you've kind of put the business aside for a moment and kept the client or worked with the client or did something for the client that went beyond that?
Never. No, it's not. It's not fun that way, right? The fun is the challenge in doing it within the rules. That's the fun of it. And there's nothing more important than your license to do what you do, or else you can't live out your passion. You can't change the world. You can't grow, personally. So, no, I don't think so.
Two friends of mine, two guests of the show. Well, Jimmy Birchfield is going to be a guest soon, but Jimmy Birchfield is a boxing promoter. Chris Corciani is a former point guard at NC State. They both very successful in business. They said the key to their business is what sets them apart from someone else. What sets your firm apart from someone else? And how competitive, I know it is, but how competitive is your business?
The business is very competitive. You have what, 1,900 players on 53-man rosters, and with the practice squad, you get up to maybe 2,200, 2,300. There are 900 NFL agents. Like, there's what, 2 clients potentially available or 3 clients potentially available for every one NFL agent. So there's a lot of agents that don't necessarily need to represent a guy during a particular year. They'll take a year off. They'll do this. They'll figure something else out, retool, recalibrate.
The agent does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the agent does.
And the other question was, what sets your firm apart? What are you different than someone else?
Well, we don't really recruit from all over the country. You know, we try to stay very close to Pittsburgh. We're very proud of being from Pittsburgh. There's a lot of great Pittsburgh athletes that come out of Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, this area right here. What's the point in representing somebody if you don't get to meet with them often? You don't go to games. You don't meet them in their homes. You don't get to learn them. So I think we do that very well. We don't we don't chase clients. I'll put it that way. But for the ones that are close, we see them often. We go to dinners. We go on car trips. I take them to events. We do charity events. All sorts of things. So that's probably something that sets us apart, is that we try to be 412 based.
Okay.
724 based. No offense to the 724s.
How long? You said something really interesting, because I never thought of the numbers. I mean, and it makes sense. There's only 20-something hundred players potentially, and I didn't realize there was that. I shouldn't be surprised. The lawyers are. I'm sorry, I had to go there. Well, my point though is, how long do you keep the player for then? Because if I get 1 or 2, maybe I've got 3 players, maybe, and that's probably a good agent who's got, maybe he's dealing with 3, and I get the whole percentage is such that I don't necessarily have to have a lot. However, what you guys are saying is we've got an infrastructure of people. I don't want to get into the numbers of can you survive on 1 or 2, but how often do you keep them? Because there's not that much turnover every year in the NFL.
Sometimes there's a change of opinion, or sometimes there's a year-end injury that the player doesn't ever recover from. Sometimes there's a retirement. Sometimes your player's on the practice squad for the whole year. Sometimes they fail drug tests. You never know what's going to happen. But you have to make sure that you just stay on top of it and be prepared for everything that happens that's inevitably going to happen.
Now, do they swap out agents often though? I mean,
every day.
Really?
Players have switched agents today. It happens every day.
Now, what's the advantage? Just think, I don't like my contract? I mean, what?
Well, also think about it this way, is that you have a lot of free agents. They may not necessarily be on the 90-man roster or the 53-man or in the draft, that are trying to get back onto a team. So, there's more than 2,200 at that point.
Right.
So they add to the opportunities to do that.
Do you deal with, I know you deal with NIL in high school as well, correct? How difficult is that to deal with a high school kid, NIL, when you're talking money and cars and the future? I mean, do you have to kind of settle them down a little bit, and the parents and the uncles, and how does that work?
Yeah, it's the same to an extent, but it's quite different to an extent. I always like to say that the sport my client plays may be different, but I play the same game. So, when you're talking about football, basketball, baseball, because we're only licensed at the professional level in football and international basketball. But we can represent any high school or college player in swimming or in gymnastics or in fencing, whatever it is. The only thing that changes really is that the parents are involved, right? They have to, because they have legal custody of the client. These are under 18-year-olds that I represent sometimes. The parents just have to be involved. They have to sign the contracts as well. That's about it.
I want to jump in on that, because you talked about being licensed at the pro and the basketball level. With college, the way things have changed, especially in the last few years, how has that changed your business?
Now we have to get an athlete agent license in every state from a player that we wish to speak from. Yeah, they have, the NCAA has kind of taken their hands off of it and left it up to the states now to create their own NIL laws. So there are some states that don't have high school NIL. There are some states that do. just whether or not they passed that law yet.
Now, what about, and that you say high school and college, same principle. Okay.
Yeah, some states may even make you take out a bond in order to become an agent in that state, a surety bond. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, has the fact that now that college basically and high school are all getting paid, there's essentially no amateur athlete anymore. Those days are gone. With that being said, does that open up the floodgates now for more clients for you guys, or it really didn't change that much for you all?
Well, it goes to the clientele, the available clientele, from 2,200 in the NFL to now probably 20,000 potential clients. So with only 900 NFL agents that definitely have the capacity to represent an NIL athlete just because they've been an NFL agent either 1 year or 10 years, they're either a lawyer, an MBA, or have already negotiated these large deals.
Now,
Yeah.
so let me jump in, because now with such a large number, then to know, so somebody calls you and says, listen, I need an agent. Or it's a dad. Let's say it's a kid 17 years old. Says, my kid needs an agent. He's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Or college player says, you know what, I'm it. What is your criteria then to know that this person has it? Or is it like, listen, I'll sign you, but you're either paying or I'm taking a cut if you even make anything. In other words, because there's no guarantees that someone's going to make it. Now, there are certain players that people say, okay, we know they're going to make it. Look at Manning in college. Whether he played well or not, it's just the name alone says this kid's going to make money from sponsors. Whereas you're fighting for so many numbers, but it doesn't, especially in the college and high school ranks, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be any good. So how do you guys then determine this is worth signing because there's potential here? I mean, does that purely fall on the scouts, or how does that work?
Sure. When I was very early in my career, I tried to give a scout my opinion of my player. And he told me something very groundbreaking at the time, and he said, let the scout scout, you be the agent. So now I get most of my scouting reports from scouts, most of my opinions on my players from my scouts. There are scouts at every different levels. There are scouts that are right. There's scouts that are wrong sometimes. There are scouts that have proven track records. So yes, I like to rely on their opinion as far as the X's and O's goes and the traits that they see. But I watch games all the time. I watch film all the time. I know what my eyes see, and by representing certain guys over the years, maybe a particular prototype of person, I know what to look for on the tape. So we're our own scouting agency at the same time. Sometimes it's just a wait and see. Maybe you like the potential in the kid, but you don't want to represent him until he becomes 18. You want to see how he handles a summer. You want to see how he is in the weight room. You want to see his work ethic. Things like that.
And you guys do get that involved with them?
Oh yeah. I went to a high school game every weekend in the fall. In the fall, I went to a different high school game every weekend here.
Back to the pro game. Whenever you're negotiating, who do you deal with? The GM, owner?
Depends. As far as mostly the GM. Let's just put it that way. Mostly the GM, because that's who's negotiating the revenue sharing agreement.
Okay. And how many players are you representing right now? Be it in the CFL, high school, pro, everything under your umbrella?
Altogether, probably close to 30.
Okay.
Probably. So either one agent in our agency represents them, or we're working on something with them now, or we co-represent them with another agency, probably 30. Football, basketball, baseball.
Oh, you do it with baseball as well in the high school level? Or? Okay.
Yeah, I have a great friend of mine that's an MLB certified agent. We do the NIL. He does that.
Good.
Let me ask you. You kind of gave us some little tidbits that you've picked up along the way. What's an example of a no kidding lesson learned that you learned early on that really said, okay, I better don't do that or do that? What were some of those big kind of lessons?
A lesson that I learned early on.
Good or bad?
You have to work with good-hearted people. You need to figure out what it is, what question you can ask them, where you can take them, what aspects of their personality that you can see will make them a good human. And then once you find that, if they also have the capability and the wherewithal or an expertise to do what you need them to do together, then you could have those business conversations. But that's who I prefer to have those business conversations with, once I get to that part of who they are.
Is there a litmus test you get early on that kind of gives you a feel for that, or is it just trust your gut?
They have to be funny. You need people that are going to be funny, right?
Oh, I should be a gazillionaire then.
If you're a good-hearted person, you probably have a good joke to tell. You probably have a funny story, a lighthearted story to tell. get them to tell a story.
You know, from what you said, what do I say all the time? The old adage in real estate is, what's the three most important things in real estate? Good location, good location, good location. I used to say, they said, what's the three most important things in business, sports, and life? I used to say, good people, good people, good people. But I've changed that to the right people, the right people, the right people. I think I'm a good person, but if you ask me to do what Steve's doing here with the tech stuff, I'm the wrong guy. So,
I agree.
What's that?
I said I agree.
Oh, as you should. I would butcher that up. But for me, it has to be the right person. What's the right person? A good person who's a good fit for me. And I, like you, I've signed some players. Well, no, there's been some players who've come across our desk that were really good, but I didn't want anything to do with him because I didn't want to send him to a coach and it was going to be a problem. So I just eliminated him. Have you ever come across that? A good player, he's a stud and a half, might even make you some money, but I just don't want their relationship. I don't want to pass him on to somebody because then it kind of drags you down a little bit.
Maybe, but I try and make sure that we don't even ever get to that point in the relationship. I don't. There's reason we have red flags. Things come up. You decide you don't want to work with somebody. That's your opinion. That's okay. I will still shake their hand when I see them. I will still hug them. But you don't want to work with somebody. You don't want to work with somebody. That's okay.
A better example would be, for example, I brought you in here today, and you're a good guy, and I respect you, and I think you're a good guy. But if you came in here and start busting stuff up, Steve wouldn't like it, but he'd be maybe more mad at me. Why the hell did you bring this guy in here? So that's why, as a coach, I don't want to coach any idiots. Okay, I've had about 98% wonderful people, really good people, and you get a few that aren't so wonderful, and they don't like me either, which is fine. That's on them. But again, so I'm picky about who I want to coach and who I sign professionally. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, do you are you picky, or before you kind of get too deep with them?
Sure. Yeah, you want to be selective. You want to have the archetype of the person that you believe you attract and you think will listen to you, and you have to go for it. You have to find that guy that is really hearing you. You have to find the guy that's really hearing you.
Okay.
And that's the threshold in any relationship that you build with somebody is they may be listening, but do they hear you, right?
And that was kind of going to be my next thing. When you tell a player this is what's best for you, and he just doesn't want to be coached, he just doesn't want to listen, I'm sure you keep trying as I do, but then after a while, you know what, I just don't think we're a good fit. Good luck, like you said, you shake their hand, good luck, I wish you well.
It's happened before. It's not a big deal. My earlier fear in being an agent was to be fired, but after you get fired 3 or 4 times over a 8-year career, it's okay. You'll realize that there's more clients that keep you than fire you. These misunderstandings or disagreements that terminate relationships, they happen.
Is there backstabbing? That's a stupid question.
I don't.
I know you don't. I know you won't. I know you would never
see
do
it.
that.
You're dealing with a lot of professionals.
That's good.
Right.
That's good to hear.
They've learned how to take a loss. They've learned how to celebrate a victory with class. And you're just dealing with people that you believe are on the same level as you. I don't see any immaturity.
Good for you. I'm talking about agent-wise.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
good.
the
That's
backstabbing, I'm sure that some of them do. I haven't been subjected to it yet.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's talk about what you envision yourself doing 5, 10, 15 years from now. Is this something you're like, this is it, this is my life, and I'm going forward for a while, or do you?
Yeah, I'd probably stop being a lawyer at some point, and I would just be an agent full time. When I don't mean stop being a lawyer, I mean don't take any more active cases or active clients. Be very much selective with them. That's what it would be.
That was going to be my question. What are you most passionate about?
Being a small
Agent.
part in changing somebody's life for the better.
Okay. Well, Jim Valvano used to say his favorite word was impact, and you're definitely having a lot of impact on people. And as I was going to ask that again, what's next for you? Let me ask you about your family. What are their thoughts about what you do? And your parents, you are doing what you're doing. What are their thoughts about what you're doing?
They love it. I just want to make them proud. They're very supportive.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, they're good people. They're the best people I know. Yeah.
You know, when we were together, I told you about my parents, a saying that he liked. He didn't quite get it at first, about the turtle being on top of the fence post.
Yeah, I never heard that one.
Yeah, but you know, I feel the same way about my parents. Nothing would have happened. But and now your wife, what does she? Because it is tough. Like with me, I'm doing 1,000 different things. Steve does 1,000 different things, and I always spoke to Jim Frazier. We've said on some shows, I need a clear head. My wife never once said, hey, I need you to do this. I want a clear head when I do a show, when I do my work, as you do. Tell us about how your wife has been wonderful with your and understanding.
I don't have a wife.
I apologize.
That's
I thought you were
okay.
married.
No. Not yet.
Oh, I
Looking
apologize.
though.
Okay.
Looking though.
For some reason, I thought you were married. My apologies.
No, that's okay. Is there a different question?
No, that's
No, but we're not going to edit this, Joe.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Well, so what? Is that intentional that you didn't marry just yet? Joe Namath said he didn't want to get married till his career was over.
I don't think that's relevant right now.
Whatever happens,
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Whatever happens.
Well, it's funny because I do know people that will literally wait. No, and again, I'm not being presumptuous here, but there are people that will wait for the purpose of, I know I'm going to be needing 20-hour days, and I don't want to put that person through it. Let me get through that stage of my life. Now, you've obviously never consciously thought about that. Like that you know that, hey, listen, I got to put 20-hour days in, therefore I'm going to hold on the family idea. We're not getting too personal here, but you know,
20-hour days happen in my work. Yeah, that's okay. 20-hour days happen. They're mostly 16, but they are from beginning to end nonstop with what I do. Yeah.
No, and I've actually met working professionals that have put the family and everything on hold because they said it's not fair to do that right now because I know the demands of my job.
Sure. So. Yeah, if somebody believes that, yeah, I think they'd be within their right.
You know, at the same time, with all the things that I do, I was talking to somebody recently, I've never missed one of my daughter's events. Never. I want to have my cake and eat it too. I mean, I work in pro baseball, college baseball, do the shows, all the stuff that I do. But I never missed one of my daughter's events. And I think the key to it is compartmentalize. Do your job, get it done right, get out. Some people drag their feet, they screw around. It can definitely be done. For sure. But you know what, Alex? I really appreciate you being on the show. You were great, like I knew you would be, and I wish you all the success in the world. Oh, real quick, you're also on the board with the Western PA Sports Hall of Fame.
Yes.
So I know you guys have an event coming up soon. Tell us a little bit about your role with them, too.
My role with the chapter here is just a member. I'm just a member of the chapter here. Okay. I am the general counsel for the Pennsylvania State Hall of Fame.
Okay, and what are your responsibilities there?
Oh, I look at all the paperwork. I give them my legal opinions, give them my advice, and hopefully they listen to it.
There you go. All right. Well, there's an event coming up soon, or it already happened?
Which event?
The Western PA?
Not at the state level, no. It's in the fall.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Well, that's it. Steve, anything else?
Nope. Awesome. Alex, appreciate you coming on. I didn't realize that we had an actual scouting, but like an actual agency here in Pittsburgh area. Should have kind of known that, considering the number of professional teams. But you tend to think they're going to be located in the big cities,
New York,
and
Los
they're going to,
Angeles,
and then they're just going to fly
But
out.
that's
to
his
wherever their
niche,
agents
like
are.
he said. That's
Right.
what sets him apart.
Right.
That's your niche, and there it is. You get your piece of the pie.
There was that element of it when I considered starting my own agency, was that we could do it in Pittsburgh. It's a sustainable model. We have a ton of athletes that come out of
That's
Pittsburgh.
for sure.
Well, tell you what, real quick though, what's interesting too is the number that actually stay. That actually surprised me, is how many, whether it's Pirates, Penguins, Steelers, or even played for other teams that were from the area that have come back, relatively speaking, in Western Pennsylvania. And I always thought, wow, why aren't these people living in the Bahamas with their millions of dollars? But they like
That's a
here.
great area,
Yeah, it
for
is.
sure. So, all right, Alex. Once again, appreciate it, and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Steve?
This was fun.
Yeah, good,
Appreciate
good.
Claudio, as always, like to give you the final, sign us off. But I'll do one shameless plug. The shameless plug is, if you have not seen Fidelta Soldier Prisoner, please go out to our website, StephenManciniProductions.com. Check it out. Appreciate it. I'm getting ready, so close to the next documentary, Innocenti, called The Innocent Ones, which will tell the story of, the experience of living under the German occupation in Central Abruzzo during the Second World War. And wait, Claudio, I'm not busy enough. So I'm actually in post-production for a documentary on St. Clement of Rome. And that one I'm very excited for, because we flew a lot of places to film that one, and I'm broke because of it. But it's very exciting. No, it's very exciting. Very exciting. So again, check out the website, SteveManciniProductions.com. Claudio, as always, I will give you an opportunity to do some shameless self-plugging and sign us off.
Just my book, Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up, How to Create a Positive Winning Culture on the Field and in the Office. You can get that book at ClaudioRelsano.com. I think we use that commercial, right? We're just plugging a little bit more. Have some other events coming up soon, some other announcements coming up soon, which I can't wait to share them with you. But as always, we appreciate all of you tuning in. And as always, thank you, Mom and Pop. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Talking Business and Life with Claudio Relsano and Steve Mancini. Tune in next week for more impactful business and life experiences with Claudio and Steve.